Welcome back to Supremely Black Podcast. This is your host, D Rose. Now, Donald Trump has been found guilty on 34 counts of felony charges of falsifying business documents, and this is what he had to say. Tap in.
President, now a convicted felon 34 times, about to address reporters.
This was a disgrace. This was a rigged trial by a conflicted judge who was corrupt. It's a rigged trial, a disgrace. They wouldn't give us a venue change. We were at 5% or 6% in this district, in this area. This was a rigged, disgraceful trial. But the real verdict is going to be November 5th.
Ooh-wee! Now, I told you, this is going to be a very, very interesting presidential election, right? So he said this is just something minute. This ain't something he truthfully worried about, you feel me? Like, November 5th is when the election is going to take place, and then we'll find out who the exact winner is, right? So here's some things that you should know about his sentencing and his charges. All of his charges were all the same, so his sentence will not be stacked. He can only serve the max of 4 years. Let's keep it real. What's the likelihood of him serving any time at all, right? So a lot of people is going to say conspiracy. He pushing the Biden agenda, that it was rigged, that it was automatically just really impacting him being able to campaign, because if they happen to put him on house arrest, it's a route for him being able to campaign, right? But here's the catch. His campaign donation website crashed following his verdict, because here's the truth. America still loves Trump, and they still want him to be president. Now, what's going to be found next? Because how he looks at it is that the jury found him guilty, but America hasn't. There's a lot of people that are avid Trump supporters, and they're still going to ride for him even more. So let me be honest with you. This is nothing but good traction for him, as crazy as this sounds, man.
By the people, and they know what happened here, and everybody knows what happened here. You have a Soros-backed DA, and the whole thing. We didn't do a thing wrong. I'm a very innocent man, and it's okay. I'm fighting for our country. I'm fighting for our Constitution. Our whole country is being rigged right now. This was done by the Biden administration in order to wound or hurt an opponent, a political opponent. And I think it's just a disgrace. And we'll keep fighting. We'll fight till the end, and we'll win, because our country's gone to hell. We don't have the same country anymore. We have a divided mess. We're a nation in decline, serious decline. Millions and millions of people pouring into our country right now.
So when you hear him talk about the millions and millions of people that are filing in, saying that they're from mental institutions, things of that nature, he's talking about the people that have been granted asylum that were shipped over to the country, right? So you've seen different governors like DeSantis, wheelchair, and if you don't know who wheelchair is, if you're in Texas, you know who that is. It's Greg Abbott. They have shipped several millions at this point, foreign people that are trying to get their green cards and get everything processed to be an American citizen to different countries, and they have did it in a very petty way, because they've shipped them to primarily cities or states that were ran by Democrats. So that's what he's speaking about when he's speaking about the millions and millions of people. Now, I'm gonna be real with you. I don't have a side. I'm not Democratic. I'm not Republican. I'm for what's right. Most people are going to agree with him because of the things that they place onto the news, and everything has been so strategic. So you just have to be very mindful and do your own homework in regards to everything that's going on out here.
Right now, from prisons and from mental institutions, terrorists, and they're taking over our country. We have a country that's in big trouble. But this was a rigged decision right from day one, with a conflicted judge who should have never been allowed to try this case, never. And we will fight for our Constitution. This is long from over. Thank you very much.
Why should voters vote for him?
Let's just keep it real now. All right. So he stated specifically, this is far from over, right? Like I said, this is probably going to be one of the most interesting presidential elections in my history that I've ever been tapped into, trying to figure out what's truthfully going on in different cities. different states, and the most propelling part of it is that you have a president that is a convicted felon that if he was not running for president could not vote, but he can still win the presidency. So you now have to see of what's going to be next in the series of it, because he said it's long from over. And so when you get to the point to where they're airing out dirty laundry, he got 34 felonies based off of hush money. To most people, it seems like, okay, that's normal. A lot of companies do hush money. That's what a civil lawsuit truthfully is. So with him being the president, it seems as if that it was pushed into everyone's head that this is just something that was terrible because he falsified some business documents. And I'm not siding with him, but I just want you to follow me on this. His camp, his people, his lawyers know some things that are going on within the country because he did have the accessibility to know what was going on for 4 years. So you can only imagine what's going to come next before November 5th, which is the election date. There's going to be some things that are going to come out about Biden. There's going to be some other things, right? Here's one that you should be mindful of is that does the Democratic Party truthfully want Biden to run because they don't think at this particular point that he has enough ammo to beat Trump, even with him being convicted? So it's going to get real interesting. It's going to get real interesting.
Daniel, you heard what former president said there. What stood out to you?
He made the false claim that he made before the trial, made almost every day during the trial, and repeated it again now after the trial. He said that this was all done by the Biden administration. As I've said, I think on TV more than 10 times at this point, there is not a shred of evidence that the Biden administration did anything to bring this case, to orchestrate this case, to run this case. This was a case brought by a locally elected prosecutor, yes, a Democrat, Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg. There is no sign that Joe Biden, his DOJ, his White House had anything to do with it. Now, former President Trump continues to reference a former DOJ official under President Biden who went to work for DA Bragg's team. There was no sign that anyone else at DOJ or the president himself had anything to do with that personal employment decision. And then off topic.
Now, this is the only time that I would say that I would not necessarily agree with that the DA Bragg just pulled some random person out and employed them during such a pivotal time, and especially if they used to previously work with either side. You have to think that, and no pun intended, that Biden and his camp, if they were involved in it, played their trump card extremely early because this is the most pivotal time. So he's on a campaign, he's doing a run. So if they happen to say, okay, he's on house arrest, he cannot do any campaigning. So November 5th is going to be huge. And like I mentioned earlier in the video, his website crashed because people were pouring in donations. So what we're going to see here right now is that both sides are going to pull out their best stops to make or bring about any dirty laundry that either side has contributed in. The only thing that I can think of right now that jumps out about Biden outside of his son is that his support of Israel with what's going on in Israel, right? With the war that he's funding, he's giving all this money and billions and billions and billions to all of these things that where people aren't seeing eye to eye with it, and they feel as if that he's basically funding a genocide. So he has that now, but we know nothing that's for certain besides how people personally feel. I would think that if this is what we're going, as what we're seeing is a political war, there is going to be a lot of things that come out that is going to basically tank this entire election. Now, for anybody that's watching this, I want to know, what's your thoughts? Do you think that this will stick and he will actually be not the president? Do you think Biden is now in the run, or do you think that they're actually going to say we don't even want Biden to run for the Democrats?
Not a focus today. He repeated his claim that people are pouring in over the border from mental institutions. As Kaitlan has repeatedly noted, I have specifically asked the Trump campaign for any evidence to corroborate that claim. They have provided zero, nothing at all.